Today we are exploring one of the most challenging and revealing leadership laws, and that is the law of reproduction. This law answers a critical leadership question, and that is, why do some leaders produce followers while others reproduce leaders? If you want your leadership to outlive you as a leader, then this lesson is for you. So stay tuned with me as we dive deeper for more understanding, and you will not regret spending your time with me in this hour of the day. So, what is the law of reproduction? The law of reproduction states that it takes a leader to raise up a leader. This means followers can be trained, but leaders must be developed. Leadership reproduction is intentional and not accidental. Leadership truth: you cannot give what you do not have, because non-leaders raise followers, but leaders raise leaders. So this means followers must be trained, leaders must be developed, because leadership reproduction is intentional and not accidental. We should be intentional in our leadership reproduction. Otherwise, we'll get burnt out along the line. Leaders must always remember this, that you cannot give what you do not have. No, leaders raise followers, but leaders raise leaders. So you cannot reproduce leaders if you yourself is not a leader. So in this case, who is a follower and who is a leader? Let's look at the differences. Followers need direction. They don't have any compass on their own. They always wait for someone to come and give them directions to go. They execute tasks. They don't have any project to execute on their own. They wait for somebody, let me say a leader, to come and give them a project, and then they will then take it from there and execute that project. They depend on instructions. They don't do things on their own. They don't just get up and say, I want to change this, I want to change that. They wait for instructions from their leader. Leaders, on the other hand, also think independently. They don't wait for someone to come and tell them do this and that. They think and they do things independently. They multiply influence and they develop others. They don't control them. John C. Maxwell says that if your absence stops progress, then you've built dependency and not leadership. So, why is it that leadership reproduction has become so difficult for some leaders in some organizations? Let's look at some common barriers that leads to this difficulty. Number one is insecurity. These leaders feel insecure to raise or develop, their fellow leaders. And because of fear of replacement, they are afraid that if they reproduce these leaders and they become better than them, then at the end of the day, they are going to be replaced. And then they are time constraints and lack of vision. Secure leaders empower others, but insecure leaders limit them. We shouldn't forget this as leaders, that if someone grows beyond you, that is success and not a failure. So always seek to reproduce others, help others to grow, help them to be developed. And when they are developed and grow beyond you, it doesn't mean that you are a failure. It means you are a successful leader. So what is the leadership reproduction cycle? Leaders see potentials. Leaders don't wait for talent. They recognize it early. So most leaders will always choose potentials over certificates. Number two is leaders invest time. We leaders must always remember that leadership is caught more than it being taught. Number three, leaders model leadership. People reproduce what you do and not what you say. Number four is leaders empower others. You can't grow leaders by controlling everything, but you rather grow leaders by empowering them to do more. So leaders, let's proceed by looking at the gap in the reproduction cycle. So what is the reproduction gap here? The reproduction gap states that the higher the leadership level, the fewer the leaders become, the longer it takes to reproduce them, and the greater the investment is being required to reproduce these leaders, because you can't mass produce leaders like products. Let's consider some practical examples of the law of reproduction. In some organizations, Companies collapse when founders fail to raise successes. In churches, growth stops when leadership is being centralized. In families, parents reproduce values and leadership styles. In nations, strong nations build leadership pipelines. So, with this clarity we have gotten, how do we then practice the law of reproduction? It can be practiced by one, lead by example. Practice what we have taught others to do, and then create leadership opportunities. Allow mistakes to take place, but after the mistakes, help them do the necessary corrections. Then develop, delegate authority. Don't just give tasks. Mentor intentionally, and then celebrate leadership growth in others. And remember, your greatest leadership success is who succeeds you, which means you should be intentional in your mentorship. So at this stage, ask yourself, who am I intentionally developing? If I leave today, who can replace me as a leader? Am I building people or protected my position as a leader? And remember this, the leadership that ends with you has failed the test of reproduction. That means your leadership shouldn't just end with you. It must continue even in generations. So this brings us to the end of our today's teaching. If this leadership lesson has challenged you, then like this video, subscribe into it if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and then share it with a leader who needs to hear this, and drop a comment below in the comment section. Who are you intentionally raising as a leader? And always remember this, that true leadership is not about how far you go, it's about how far leadership goes after you are gone as a leader. See you again in the next video.